what's up? This is Chosen, and this video is going to be a champion guide for Marked. So let's get into it. Alrighty, let's go ahead and dive into the index here. We're going to be going into Barbarians, and Marked is going to be a rare on the far left, the Magic Affinity support. And right here, as always, for my champion guides, I will have an infographic down in the vid description that you can pull up and kind of shows the masteries I'm currently using on the champion in the video. As always, remember, use that as a guideline. Do not ever just blindly copy masteries. Also, the fact that she takes 12 books and all of the general info is right there if you want to check that out. And now let's dive into her kit. Alrighty, so one of the first things we'll notice is I'm actually working on a video where I dive into creating a Women of Raid calendar for 2021, and Marked is definitely going to be on there. She's a really good aesthetic champion in the game, but we've got a base speed of 100. That's great for a rare, and then we've also got an A1 that has pretty reliable defense break. So you can see here it starts at 30%. When we book it, it goes all the way up plus 50 to 80%. So an A1 with pretty reliable defense break on a rare champion, we will definitely take that. Then we've got an AoE when booked for an A2 on a 3-turn cooldown that decreases accuracy. That's pretty good. Anytime we can have a higher likelihood to not have debuffs placed on our team, that's going to be very good. And then the A3 places a block debuffs buff on all allies for 1 turn. And, I mean, it would be good if it was just that. It would be decent. And the big version of increased defense on all allies for 2 turns. So this would be a really good ability, even if it was the baby version, the 30% increased defense. The fact that a rare champion has a block debuffs and the big version of increased defense that we can book to a 3-turn cooldown, that's an insane support ability for a rare champion to have. And then the Aura is ally defense in faction crypts by 15%. So now just some general thoughts before I dive into showing her in action and grading her in all the different areas and all that. I think they nailed it with the design of this champion. This is what a rare champion should be. A very synergistic kit based around defense and resisting debuffs. You've got the decreased accuracy and the block debuffs, and then the defense and the defense and the defense aura with a good base speed, and she's got decent base HP, and she's an attack champion that sacrifices by having low defense. So not going to be perfect, not going to be god tier broken as good as a legendary, but a rare champion that definitely has utility and is worth building. That's what a rare champion should be. It shouldn't be broken, dominant, better than legendaries, but it should at least have a cool, interesting kit that synergizes well and has a good trade-off in terms of, yes, they're really good in this area, maybe a little bit weak in this area, but they're worth building because they bring utility in certain situations. So they nailed it with the design of Marked. And now let's go ahead and pull up my Marked, and I'll kind of talk about building her and kind of go over everything more specifically. Alrighty, so here we are. I've got my Marked pulled up, and the first thing you'll kind of notice is I've got reflex and offense on her. I don't know if reflex is super amazing on her, but there was a golem tournament and I had a good set of reflex lying around, so I went ahead and threw it on her because I had good gear that I wanted to kind of put on when I was in the process of building this champion. So you can go a few different routes with Marked. The base attack is very low, so building her as a damage dealer, you're gonna struggle a little bit. So probably not optimal to build her as a super glass cannon and put a bunch of like lifesteal on her and stuff, because that base attack when she's maxed out is 892. That's a very low base attack. So basically you want to build her as more of a support role, probably, in terms of getting a lot of accuracy and a lot of speed to kind of cycle through and get the block debuffs up and get the punishment of the gods to lower the accuracy of your opponents, and then proc this A1 a bunch. But you do want to take note of getting her in high speed. She can be a little bit tough to speed tune because the block debuffs buff, you want that to go at the back end of your rotation typically, because like if you're going before your opponents, say in the arena, and you place block debuffs on all allies, then your team goes and they waste that, and then the enemies go and they can debuff you for free because it's only 1 turn. So you do kind of gotta weigh your options in terms of, do you want the punishment of the gods to cycle through as often as possible along with their A1 stacking as many defense breaks as possible over the course of a long fight like in Faction Wars, Or do you want her to go at the back end of your rotation to get a little bit more value out of the block debuffs and the increased defense, so you're not wasting turns of those buffs? So all of this makes her a little bit wonky to build around, and you're gonna have to kind of pay attention to all of that when you're kind of kitting her out and fitting her into certain teams. So if I pull up the total stats on my marked here, I did build her to do some damage. That's why you're seeing the 100% crit rate and the 164 crit damage, along with the attack at 2460, which is actually pretty decent for her because she has such a low base attack of 892. Getting her to up around 2500 is actually pretty decent. And I did that because I wanted to be able to show you what she's capable of in terms of being a damage dealer, but it's totally viable to just build her as a support and build her a little bit more tanky as well. So as I walk you through all of the pieces of gear and kind of talk about that, accuracy going to be very important on her because she's got an A1 and an A2 that does AoE debuffing. We're going to want to get good accuracy. So if you're not going to get it from substats, you can see here I went with an attack banner. Her base attack is low, so if you're going to be building her to do damage, it's not a bad idea to get attack on the banner, but you're probably going to want to go with accuracy 90% of the time on the banner if you have it available to you. This was a really good banner that had a good blend of speed, attack, HP, so I went with this one, but an accuracy banner would have been just fine. Then in terms of the amulet, so if you're building her as a support, you're almost always going to want to go flat defense on both the amulet and the ring. So you'll see that I built her as a damage dealer to kind of see what she's capable of, but totally viable to build her as a support. And if you do, because of her low base defense, you're going to want a base defense ring and a base defense amulet to kind of make up for that, because there's two spots where you can get a good flat defense roll to kind of bump her up. But you'll see here, this ring was insane for her. Lots of HP, lots of attack, and then it had both the HP percent and the defense percent. So that ring was too good to pass up as a 6-star. I went ahead and threw it on there because I had it lying around. And then again, I went with a crit damage amulet because it had really good accuracy, and I wanted it to be able to show you what she's capable of as a damage dealer. Now for the boots, you're typically going to want speed. Obviously, now if you have 6-star stat boots that are really good and they roll like double speed or something, you can go that route, but I like to have my champions with high speed. But for substats on her, we're going to be looking for basically anything, either support or damage dealing stats, accuracy, crit rate, defense, HP, anything that basically just items that have good substats. But you definitely want accuracy, especially if you're not going to use an accuracy banner like me in this case. So I'll show you all the pieces here. And these qualified for her because there's not a lot of times these gloves are going to make sense, but for her they were very good. And here we go. These ones are all going to kind of make sense and fit into line with what I was kind of telling you. So also, one cool thing about Marked is she's going to pair very well with Syl of the Drakes, who is the legendary that you get for free at the end of the daily login rewards. They're both for barbarians, and if you have Marked and Syl of the Drakes, they will kind of go in tandem with each other and do very well in faction wars, because Syl of the Drakes has a revive. So if you do build a Marked as a damage dealer and she's kind of falling over, it's okay. Syl of the Drakes can pick her up and revive her. And also Marked is going to buff the defense that Syl of the Drakes, her main stat damage dealing is based on defense. So they're going to pair very well together. Syl is a guaranteed login reward, and if you get Syl and Marked, they are both endgame viable in terms of faction wars. I will show you here in a little bit me completing faction wars 21 in a reasonable time on full auto with Syl of the Drakes and Marked in my roster. But going back to Marked, as far as the masteries are concerned, again, I built her as a damage dealer, so I went down to War Master. I probably wouldn't go crit damage on her because again, her base attack is so low, it's going to be hard to scale her to do a bunch of damage, and she also doesn't deal damage on every single turn because she's got that ability that increases defense and places block debuff, which is why, again, we're going to want to get lasting gifts. It can be very good for block debuff, so you turn that into 2 turns instead of 1. That's extremely impactful. And Hexers, this is also good for the decreased accuracy and the decreased defense that she places. So I'll kind of leave that here for a couple seconds if you want to pause or anything, but it's also down in the description on the infographic that I talked about a little bit earlier in the video. Let's put those away, and we'll quickly dive onto the booking process. She takes 12 books, and she's probably worth the rare books. I wouldn't super prioritize her. If you're a new player, you're probably going to want to work on a few other of your, god tier rares like Kale or something, or Apothecary, or, save up for a better rare. But she is worth rare books in general. She's worth building, so don't feel bad about spending rare books on her. And in terms of booking her, you definitely want to get her A3 booked, and the A2 as well. Getting that AoE to be a 3-turn instead of a 4-turn is very impactful. The A1, you can stop. If you get the A2 and the A3 booked, you can feel free to stop, but there's nothing wrong with getting the 10% buff chance on the A1 to get the defense breaks to be a little bit reliable, so don't feel bad about spending the books on her. She's totally worth it. But now I will show you her in action. First, we will dive into the campaign, and then I'll show you Faction Wars 21 run, the last stage of the Barbarians that I went ahead and did with her. So she's totally viable as a campaign farmer. She's going to do it in like 25 seconds or so. So it's a chance for you to kind of see her in action and kind of see that she can perform pretty well. But like I always say, these champions, when you get them in good gear, you get them maxed out, they're going to be able to farm brutal just fine most of the time. So nothing super surprising there. She's not going to be an amazing god tier campaign farmer, but she is capable of it. And you can see here she did this in about 20 seconds. So definitely viable, just not amazing in that role. And now let's dive into showing the run on Faction Wars 21 for the Barbarians. Alrighty, let's go ahead and fire up that level 21 run. So I went ahead and of this video up. That way, it doesn't take super long. So I went ahead and kind of just made it faster to cycle through. But you can get an idea of Mark and Syl the Drakes being kind of a nice tandem together. And, Syl is going to do a good job healing Mark. So in terms of if you play the game long enough, Syl is a guaranteed legendary to get. So you're going to be able to pair her with Mark and do super fine in Faction Wars. In Faction Wars, it's a good idea to find rares that are endgame viable. You can see here, I've got War Maiden and Marked. So the Barbarians have 2 very good rares for Faction Wars. So definitely worth building both War Maiden and Mark. They can both perform very well all the way to the end of Faction Wars. And my team is Vala is an epic, and then Syl is a guaranteed legendary, and then I have a couple rares in Marked and War Maiden. Then I've got the Valkyrie, who is obviously a super hard carry and a really good champion, but I would be able to do stage 21 without Valkyrie. Syl is very good. I have Sky Touch Shaman I could sub in, as well as an epic. There's other options. Valkyrie's definitely an amazing champion, but I could totally do this without Valkyrie. Now, I fast forwarded a little bit just to, but you can see there, in this context of Faction Wars, Marked is going to be very good against the boss, because look at that decreased accuracy debuff that is live on the boss. The boss in Faction Wars places a lot of crucial debuffs, lots of fear, stuff like that. So if you can lower its accuracy and place a block debuffs with the Lasting Gifts Mastery, Marked can bring an insane amount of value. You can see here that paired with Syl of Drakes, I'm able to kind of just sit here and sustain the boss. And even though it takes 6 minutes, it's a super easy fight. I'm able to kind of down it just based off of having a couple rares and building a team that kind of synergizes very well. There you see the debuff block constantly popping up. Mark is getting a ton of value out of placing that block debuffs, and it's extremely good in Faction Wars, where resistance and blocking debuffs is even more valuable than like in dungeons. But we should have this down in about, I don't know, 20 seconds or so, because I think it took about 6 minutes, but I sped up the video here to go a little bit faster. There it is. And see there, when you run on auto, you're not, and with it only being 1 turn, the block debuffs shouldn't be 2 turns. I mean, she's a rare champion. Then we got a massive speed glyph, so that was nice there. But let's put that away, and let's dive into the actual grading of her, in every area of the game. But as I dive into the review part, I do want to finish my thought there. I was kind of saying she shouldn't have block debuffs for 2 turns, given what the rest of her kit is. I mean, she is a rare, not a legendary, so the block debuffs, even though you're not going to get like a 100% uptime on it, constantly blocking debuffs, even on that 1 turn, as long as you have the Lasting Gifts Mastery, you're going to get a lot of value out of it. So let's dive into here. What do we got for recommended artifacts? Speed and HP. Yeah, not bad. That's okay. We'll take that. Dragon. She's Magic Affinity, so yeah, I don't know if I would go 5. But yeah, she's pretty solid. Yeah, I'll go 4. Arena offense, again, I'll give her a 4. Campaign, 4. She did it right there. Arena defense. The blocking debuffs and stuff is pretty cool, but because it's one turn, it can be a little bit tough to get it tuned right and everything. She's an attack champion that's really tough to sustain. I'll give her a 3. Clan boss, you can use her as a block stun because you can place that block debuffs for one turn. You can get her tuned perfectly and use her as a stun blocker. I mean, I'll give her a 3. She's not going to be like a meta clan boss champion. Spider Den. Yeah, I mean, again, a 3. Okay, she could be okay. And then Ice Golem, we'll give her a 4. Minnow, she's fine. Fire Knight, she's not going to be super good there. You're probably not going to want to bring her in the Fire Knight. That's definitely her worst area, in my opinion. Void Keep, very good. Blocking the poisons can be very good. I'll give her a 5. Magic Keep, she's not going to steal any sort of shield or anything. And she's neutral affinity, so we'll give her a 3. Spirit Keep, she does counter it, but so I'll give her, she doesn't have a special mechanic for that dungeon, so we'll give her that. Force Keep, she's affinity countered, and she does lower defense on an A1 though, so even though she's affinity countered, I'll give her a 3 because she'll have super reliable decreased defense on the boss with it being on an A1 with an 80% chance if it's booked. Faction War is amazing, and she pairs very well with the free-to-play friendly login rewards Seal of the Drake, so I'll give her a 5 there. So let's go ahead and submit those, okay, and we'll kind of back out and wrap things up here. So let me pop up that infographic. Remember, that's down in the video description if you want to pull it up. And yeah, if you have marked, I think they got it right. She's worth investing in, but she's not like a godly champion, but she is endgame viable in certain areas of the game, and I think they hit a home run in terms of designing her as a rare because, like I said, she's worth building, she's viable, but she's not god tier. There are champions that are better in terms of epics and legendaries, but in terms of being a rare that's cheaper to book, cheaper to ascend, and cheaper to invest in, she is worth 6-starring and worth building. She's a very solid rare in my opinion. So yeah, as always, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.